This desert is surrounded by desolation. People are living in this abandoned era. The scarcity of resources is so despairing. In this situation, each resource held, it means holding the key to survival. And in this wilderness, the best way to quickly acquire resources is to possess a state-of-the-art, technologically advanced war truck. Because of this, a fierce battle begins. That female warrior once lived in an oasis many years ago. With incessant warfare and dwindling resources, human society entered a post-apocalyptic wasteland without governance. On Earth, 45 years after the collapse of civilization, only one oasis has survived, and Furiosa lives here. On that day, she and her sister were picking peaches, but unexpectedly encountered a gang of bikers. Furiosa asked her sister to stay here, while she walked over, drain the gas from their vehicle. Unfortunately, she was caught in the act. She turned around and ran, while blowing the whistle to warn her tribe. Furiosa's mother, mounted on a horse, immediately arrived, but Furiosa had already been taken away by the bikers. Furiosa's mother rode her horse to chase after them, and a friend took up a sniper rifle to advance with her. They caught up to one person, and swiftly dealt with the fight. Furiosa's mother rode the person's motorcycle, and when her friend learned that she was going on alone, they exchanged weapons with Furiosa's mother, wishing her victory. Then Furiosa's mother continued the pursuit by driving the motorcycle. After Furiosa was targeted by snipers in the convoy, she bit off the fuel line with her teeth. Meanwhile, Furiosa's mother replaced the motorcycle with good parts, and continued following behind the bikers. Night fell, and the bikers discovered a fuel leak in their vehicles, keeping them busy with repairs. Furiosa seized the opportunity, and temporarily escaped the clutches of the biker gang, but she couldn't outrun the motorcycles after all, and was soon captured again. They hurried to their lair deep in the desert, but Furiosa's mother had already caught up with him, and she used a sniper rifle to shoot the tires of the biker gang, but they took advantage of their numbers as cover. The enemy rushed into the tribe with her daughter. Furiosa was seen as the key to the oasis, and offered to the leader of the biker tribe, Dementus. His subordinates asked her about the oasis's location, but she refused to betray her people. Dementus wasn't in a hurry to get the answer, because he knew that even if Furiosa didn't speak, they can also find the oasis based on last night's traces. He instructed his subordinates not to harm the girl. On the other hand, Furiosa's mother took off her clothes from the body of a motorcycle gang member and put on. She infiltrated the enemy camp, and a sandstorm provided cover for Furiosa's mother. Her figure slowly approached the tent, and she killed the guards. In the face of the camp, faced with the desperate pleas for survival from women in the camp, Furiosa's mother spared their lives. However, she immediately reported to the guards. One of the biker gang members fired at Furiosa's mother. The flames burned her armor. After escaping with her daughter for a distance, she got off the vehicle to extinguish the flames. Then she continued forward, but Dementus wasn't planning to let this opportunity slip. He chased relentlessly with his hunting dogs in convoy. Furiosa's mother knew it would be difficult for both of them to escape together. To protect her daughter, she chose to stay behind and hold them off. She told Furiosa, no matter how long it takes, have to find a way home. She handed a seed to her daughter, and asked her to swear to protect this oasis. Furiosa rode away on her bike. She looked back, as Furiosa's mother fought bravely, repelling numerous biker gang members. She faced the enemy's attacks, but was eventually captured. Furiosa ventured back, but she was also captured by Dementus, and then, she witnessed her mother being tortured to death. From that moment on, Furiosa became a slave of the biker tribe. She was imprisoned in a cage, forced to witness various cruel games. She forced herself to witness the ugliness of these people, to remember their faces. The motorcycle tribe brutally killed, and even ate people. Furiosa learned from an old scholar the art of tattooing, and drew a map of stars on her body. This would guide her back to her homeland. One day, a passerby who was shot by an arrow stopped Dementus, inquiring about the location of Valhalla. Valhalla is the palace where the blessed heroes in Norse mythology live. Of course, Dementus didn't know where Valhalla was, so he claimed to be searching for a place with abundant resources. The man said that in Valhalla, there was plenty of fresh water and food. This piqued Dementus's interest, and he immediately led his convoy to set off. To conquer this fortress, countless motorcycles kicked up clouds of yellow sand in the desert. Scavengers were scared and hid in caves. The roar of motorcycles formed bursts of sound waves, showing their power to the castle guards. Dementus told the castle guards, the city lord has been enslaving them, despite their sweat and blood, without any rewards. Now the opportunity to change their fate was in their hands. They could overthrow the cruel rule, as long as they dropped the big guys. He can help them solve their enemies. Each person would also receive double the food and fresh water, and even promised, he will lead these people, rule the earth in a new world. When the castle owner, Immortal Josh, appeared, Dementus was still introducing his fierce subordinates. In response to this, the spokesperson of the Immortal City also picked up the microphone. He said the Lord had a request. Ask Dementus to choose one of his soldiers. Dementus chooses one person. That person looked solemn, as he slid down from the sky with a weapon. Then he offered his loyalty to the king. Each of these warriors would do the same. They were incredibly loyal to Immortal Josh. Dementus, the laughable one. He actually wanted to make a move here. After the messenger finished speaking, he and Immortal Josh returned to the castle. Soon after, the soldiers launched an attack. Dementus's subordinates were mostly fugitives, although they were numerous, but facing well-trained soldiers, and were quickly defeated. Furiosa was almost captured, but luckily Dementus rescued her in time. Afterward, they escaped from their biker gang invasion plan, turning to Gastown. It was the second fortress in the wasteland. Here, food and water were exchanged for gasoline, while the people in the castle were out. Dementus sent a team that successfully ambushed them, and obtained a large amount of gasoline. But Dementus's ambition didn't stop there. He covered several of his subordinates with lime, disguising them as dark soldiers of Immortal Josh. He ordered them to drive the fuel trucks. Returning to Gastown, Dementus led his own group of people, chasing closely behind. The guards of Gastown witnessed this scene, and immediately called their boss, Latona. To make it more convincing, Dementus killed them. Eliminate all the men on the oil truck. Latona ordered his men to open the gates, and activate the weapon defenses. Once inside the city, the people hidden in the vehicles immediately revealed themselves. They took control of the gate guards, and opened the gates once again, allowing the biker gang to enter. The next day, Zlatona's finger appeared in front of Immortal Josh. Immortal Josh had no choice but to agree to meet again. But Dementus, on the other hand, used Zlatona's life as leverage to demand a large amount of supplies from Immortal Josh. Sensing the atmosphere was not in his favor, Zlatona asked for his child and brother to save him. But in this brutal era, resources were far more valuable than life. In the end, Zlatona perished on the spot. However, Dementus still had a trump card in his hand. He had set up an explosive device, with a password known only to himself. If they can't get back to Gastown safely by night, then the Gastown oil would explode. Suddenly, Immortal Josh noticed Furiosa in the corner. This girl was healthy and full of vitality. He became deeply fascinated by her. Immortal Josh wanted to buy the beautiful girl. Dementus lied and claimed that she was his daughter, and took the opportunity to raise the price. For Furiosa's sake, Immortal Josh agreed to their demands. Furiosa, who had not spoken since her mother's death, at this moment, she firmly denied that Dementus was her father. This man had killed her mother. But Immortal Josh didn't care about that. He paid a large sum of money to buy Furiosa, and brought her into his harem. Immortal Josh had numerous wives, each one beautiful. They lived a luxurious life, but in reality, their lives were not looked so bright and beautiful. These women had only one task, which was to give birth to healthy male babies for Immortal Josh. However, they could only give birth to deformed fetuses. Breast milk is also sold. To avoid a tragic fate, Furiosa devised an escape plan. She hid the seeds her mother had given her. She cut her long hair, and made a wig using candle oil. On that night, Immortal Josh's son extended his evil hand to Furiosa, but Furiosa suddenly took off her wig, and escaped his clutches. She hid in the shadows, evading pursuit, but escaping from the castle was simply a fantasy for her. So, Furiosa decided to disguise herself as a boy, and become a low-level child laborer. Continuing to stay within the castle, she was agile, brave, and intelligent. With her exceptional repair skills, she gained the respect of the people in the castle. As time passed, Furiosa grew into a capable assistant, and was even allowed to participate in crucial research projects, specifically being responsible for manufacturing a new type of war vehicle, bearing the heavy responsibility of transporting supplies. No matter what era, transportation is important. Thus, war vehicles are crucial. However, the road for transporting supplies is known as the Fury Road, as it is frequently ambushed by bandits. They peered at passing vehicles, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. During one transport mission, the war vehicle was attacked by the Vulture Gang. Furiosa, as the onboard mechanic, she was drawn into a fierce battle. The Vulture Gang relentlessly pursued. The Dark Soldiers also began to fight back. Surprisingly, the bandits used paragliders to launch attacks from the air. The soldiers valiantly resisted on the war vehicle, but the bandits took advantage of the soldiers' inattention and planted a bomb underneath the vehicle. In this critical moment, Furiosa stepped forward. Jack also grabbed the enemies with his claws and successfully disarmed the bomb. However, the driver, Jack, hurriedly tried to shake off the enemies, but almost threw Furiosa off the vehicle. Yet, the Vulture Gang clung to the vehicle like pythons. Their attacks seemed endless. Furiosa showed great bravery and successfully patched up the damaged parts of the war vehicle, but revealed her female identity. After shooting and repelling the enemies, she got into the driver's cabin to assist Jack. However, one of the paraglider bandits seized the opportunity to grab her. Jack intervened to save her. Furiosa was familiar with this war vehicle. She seized the opportunity to climb to the back of the vehicle. The giant paraglider was destroyed by a mechanical claw. Then, using the rear spiral drill of the vehicle, destroyed the air machine gun. Although the enemies were completely eliminated, but the Dark Soldiers on the vehicle all sacrificed their lives. Furiosa pointed her gun at Jack, forcing him to stop the vehicle. However, Jack threw her out, then pretended to drive away. When Furiosa was in despair, he returned to her side once again and extended a helping hand. He promised to pass on his lifelong knowledge to her and assist her in returning to her homeland. During this time, Furiosa became Jack's deputy in the vehicle convoy. The two joined forces in the post-apocalyptic world to engage in supply transportation. In the Wasteland era, strength is everything. Furiosa, relying on her own strength, earned the respect of others, and no longer needed to hide her true identity. Jack, who was both a mentor and a friend, knew that Furiosa had matured and could embark on her journey back home. He gave her a gun and promised to help her acquire food and water. However, at this moment, due to poor management by Dementus, causing the town of Gas to fall into chaos, yet he still had ambitions. Dementus demanded the three major city-states to redistribute the resources, or else he would no longer provide energy. At this time, Dementus didn't recognize the grown-up Furiosa, but Furiosa knew that the time for revenge was not yet ripe. She could only suppress her anger for now. The important thing now was to ensure the convoy's safe departure from Gastown. After the convoy returned to the castle, Immortal Josh's sons were furious because they sent a can of water and 2,000 cans of breast milk to Gastown, but couldn't exchange it for a drop of gasoline. They wanted to kill Dementus immediately. Immortal Josh ordered his men to shut down all vehicles, all generators, and shut off the water pumps. Then he instructed Jack to lead the convoy, to take empty cans tomorrow morning, to go to the bullet farm, bring back as many bullets as you can. He was determined to regain control of Gastown. Before departure, Jack helped Furiosa with her injuries. He asked where the secret map on the girl's arm ended. This was Furiosa's biggest secret. She chose to remain silent. Jack then shared his own background. His parents' dream is to find a paradise, but they never fulfilled it in their lifetime. Therefore, he would do his best to help Furiosa find her homeland, no matter how far. The man's sincerity touched the girl. Furiosa pressed her forehead against his. It was a unique ritual of the Green Oasis people, symbolizing trust and friendship. Jack is the only friend Furiosa has since losing his mother. Both of them carried an undying hope in their hearts. Early the next day, they embarked on their journey. Jack had a foreboding feeling. He instructed Furiosa to drive the car behind. Until they arrived at the bullet farm, Jack sensed that something was off. It turned out, this place had already been occupied by Dementus. A large number of enemies were lying in ambush here. The convoy was ambushed. Dementus was well prepared. Jack knew he couldn't escape on his own. He fired a signal flare, signaling Furiosa to flee quickly, but Furiosa didn't leave her partner behind and go behind. She inherited her mother's marksmanship skills. She took cover in a high position, providing suppressive fire to cover Jack's movements. She even came close to hitting Dementus. Dementus noticed the presence of a skilled sniper nearby. He deduced Furiosa's hiding spot. Through several shot placements, he assembled a rocket launcher to eliminate the sniper in the distance. Meanwhile, Furiosa was waiting for the enemy to reveal themselves. Eventually, Dementus used human shields for cover and demolished Furiosa's hiding place. At the same time, Jack drove a supercar rushing in. He crashed into the tower where Dementus was hiding. Just as Jack was about to fall into the abyss, Furiosa rode a motorcycle and rushed over. She saved Jack with a grappling hook. Immediately after, the two of them jumped into the car and swiftly escaped the scene. But Dementus was unwilling to let his prey escape. He drove a modified 4x4 vehicle. The iron gate is useless in front of it. Dust flew beneath the tires. Even the treacherous sand dunes were as flat ground to him. Anger filled his chest. Dementus sped through the desert in his vehicle. Soon, he overcame obstacles and caught up with Jack and Furiosa. The two vehicles engaged in a battle in the yellow sand. Jack shot and killed a person. Furiosa also used her vehicle to kick up a large amount of yellow sand, blocking Dementus' vision, but they were soon caught up again. Jack was hit. Dementus also drove his chariot into the car, break Furiosa's arm. The star map that was drawn also disappeared. Jack and Furiosa were captured by Dementus. This savage conqueror, as always, took pleasure in torturing prisoners. He tied Jack behind the vehicle, dragging him like a ragdoll until Jack died, and Furiosa was hung beside. The scene from Hell as a Child happened again. She was forced to witness this brutal punishment. However, when the punishment is over, Dementus, however, discovered that Furiosa mysteriously disappeared, leaving only a severed arm hanging on the vehicle. At this moment, one-armed Furiosa, driving in the desert, she didn't dare to slack off at all, until the motorcycle uses up the last drop of fuel. On a nearby sand dune, stood a figure. That was the protagonist of the main story, Max. When Furiosa woke up from unconsciousness, she realized she had been picked up by the maggots. Her severed arm had become an excellent vessel for maggots. In the wasteland world, maggots and flies were a high-quality source of protein. Soon after, Furiosa encountered a merchant caravan from the castle. She accompanied them back to the territory of Immortal Josh, and reported Dementus' ambitions to Immortal Josh. He had already captured 2 city-states. Immortal Josh's subordinates were furious. They demanded to mobilize troops to conquer Dementus, but Furiosa proposed Dementus' true objective, which was to lure them to Gastown, and then launch a surprise attack on the castle. She suggested pretending to fall into the trap, and ambushing Dementus near the castle. In the end, Immortal Josh accepted Furiosa's strategy. Both sides engaged in a wasteland battle. This war lasted for 40 days. The yellow sand was almost stained red. However, the film didn't delve into the details of this decisive battle, but rather skimmed over it. The battle unfolded as Furiosa had anticipated. Immortal Josh ultimately achieved a resounding victory. Dementus became the loser. However, due to the destruction of all the vehicles during the battle, he managed to escape the battlefield. How could Furiosa, the female warrior, tolerate her mother's killer escaping unpunished? She cut off her long hair, and put on a mechanical arm, and drove an almost scrapped old car. Alone, she went to pursue Dementus. Along the way, she stole a better car from Immortal Josh's son. After Dementus sensed someone was following, he immediately ordered his forces to split into 3 groups, to confuse the pursuer. He also instructed his deputy to wear his robe and impersonate him. Furiosa charged up the sand dune in pursuit. The deputy hurriedly took off the robe and discarded it, but got stuck in a sand pit. Furiosa avoided the quicksand and rushed towards higher ground. She used a sniper rifle to lock onto Dementus' location. Dementus, in order to survive, he fled into a sandstorm. Just when we thought that both sides would engage in a big battle, Furiosa, however, pierced Dementus' water pouch, rendering his motorcycle and weapons useless. In the desert, with no water or food sources, survival was almost impossible. Furiosa shattered Dementus' hope. She had hidden a bladeless dagger in her boot, and lured him to snatch it, to repeatedly torment his nerves. Dementus had once asserted that Furiosa would eventually become as cruel as him, because in the apocalypse, it's difficult to survive without being cruel. But Furiosa didn't argue with him, nor did she kill him immediately. Instead, she dragged him deep into the castle, and used the seed her mother gave her. She inserted it into his body. This green plant uses Dementus' body as its breeding ground. desperately absorbing nutrients from his body, and eventually grew into a peach tree, resembling the scenery of her hometown. Furiosa picking ripe peaches from the tree. Distribute these fruits to immortal Josh's wives. It was not just a material gift, but also a symbol to lead them towards spiritual awakening. The subsequent story connects to the chapter of Fury Road. This episode concludes here. In this film, Furiosa displayed fearlessness and bravery. As a clever and decisive female warrior, she went through hardships and adventures, and endured hardships in the wasteland world. Starting as a child, she transformed into a courageous female warrior. The film depicts grand mechanical scenes, outline and expand the vast frontier of this wasteland, pushing the audience's visual senses to the extreme. The climax of the film undoubtedly is the thrilling chase scenes. It's also a showdown of speed and passion. The film also explores the ecology and social classes in the wasteland world, and political struggles, providing a comprehensive display. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it.